People forgot what COVID did. COVID made a lot of people poor. Normal people went, either lost their job because they didn't take the vax, or they had some kind of business that was greatly affected because they needed that face-to-face human interaction. And the lockdown brought, for many people, poverty, even though they say 50 new billionaires were created. Well, you're not one of them. So what do you need to prepare for? You need to know that something is coming that seems unlikely, but it's called the black horse. The black horse will be related to the black out, and it will have an effect on the black gold, which is oil. I'm just giving you away, sermons that I come and preach at church after church. I just think we have so little time left. I'm just going to give it away. I can explain it with scriptures. I can go very gingerly, and honestly, I tell God, I say, Lord, I'd rather be wrong, I'd rather be wrong. I know what people would do if I'm wrong. I haven't been wrong yet about any of the timelines and the predictions, but I'd rather be wrong. And I know what people would do. They will be vicious. They will be, if you get everything right and get one thing wrong, they will brand you a false minister, false whatever, a false prophet, I guess. That's the term. Easy, right? Easy to criticize, hard to build and hard to construct and hard to warn people. Things they don't believe are going to come. So the black horse is going to come. You're not going to stop that. You can pray for grace. The top 1%, when you meet them, they don't want to tell most people what I know and what they know. And there are many reasons for that. But part of it is, it's hard to tell people who need so much convincing. It's hard, let me put it this way, okay? There are movies that you can go watch where they take a poor person and they do this dream, right? The dream of poor people is that if only I had the chance, if only I had a position of power, or if only I had enough money, my life would be so different. And in these movies, you find out, you give a poor person a lot of money, they're still poor. Nothing's changed, because real wealth, real is the same as spirituality, right? Spirituality is not on the outside. It's not wearing an orange robe on the outside. It's not shaving your hair. Spirituality is not on the outside. In the same way, strangely, wealth is not on the outside. Wealth is on the inside. And if you can't change a person's mind to think differently, and that would include some pastors, right? A lot of pastors came from a poor background. And when they start preaching when the times are good and good churches invite them, pastors in America can get a $10,000 offering, $40,000 offering and beyond. This is why there's a circuit, and they don't invite outsiders in, because there's a circuit like that. I'm telling you things that the 1% knows, so people don't say the stuff that you hear Pastor Steve say. And it's because I truly believe, number one, that I'm here just to tell the truth. That's my job. And it doesn't mean I want to say things beyond your capacity or understanding, but I believe that my audience, you're the best of the best. You're some of the smartest, wisest, and people who are full of faith. You really need faith to survive in the end times. You have to be people of faith, and you hear people of faith because they're positive. They respond well. They're very receptive. They're open. And what you find is, poor people are poor because they're very guarded. Even if they have money, I'd still call them poor, because a lot of people have nice houses, drive nice cars, have a lot of money, but all that can dry up very quickly for them. They really don't have a setup. Yeah, they're not set up to last long if things go bad. And this is the thing, is they live under some kind of insecurity, because the mentality. And the mentality is, you can describe it, you can see it. The people who are hyper skeptical, hyper judgmental, very not open to anything that's different, that challenges their status quo. People like that are to me, they're poor. They're poor spiritually, and they're going to be poor financially. So it's hard to tell everybody, because probably the 1% people, both in spirituality and in wealth, they don't know I guess they know what to say, but they know that saying it to most people gets nothing but ridicule and criticism. So why bother? And then that's where you get people who are trying to break open this secret box, and they try to tell you, and if they do it well, they go phenomenally rich, like I think Robert Kiyosaki does it. He lets the cat out of the bag, so to speak. When you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's like, aha, this is what the rich have been hiding from the poor, not consciously, not like rich people are bad, but because the poor respond so negatively that it's not worth the emotional investment and the backlash that you would get trying to help the poor. So the reason I say this is, here's another example. I think you'll like this one. It relates to leadership. I think it was Theodore Roosevelt. He had a labor secretary that for whatever reason vacated the job. I don't know if he died, I don't know if he was incompetent or what happened, but anyway, the job was vacated. And so the maid of the White House knew about this, and she said, Mr. President, my husband is a labor man. He understands laboring people. And if you're looking for a secretary of labor, I would wish that you consider my husband. And so Theodore Roosevelt obviously asked, well, does he have any influence? And she said, oh no, well, he doesn't have influence right now, but if you give him the position of Secretary of Labor, then he would have influence. Of course, Theodore Roosevelt understood the situation right away and did not pick her husband. And this is the kind of poverty mentality that people have. They really believe, like in these Hollywood movies, that if I go from no influence and no money, and if somebody would just give me that position, if they just give me that power, I could do a lot of good. And the fact is, the position itself wouldn't make you a different person. And people won't follow you, especially in America, in this culture, where we're very anti-positional leadership. They're not going to follow you just because you got a position, right? I mean, they don't even follow the president because he's got elected. Half the country doesn't like the president, won't follow him. So what then makes Americans like somebody? It's influence. It's the fact that you did something with the little that you have, and you continue to have an open mind, which then continues to lead you to more success, which continues to lead you into more good relationships, and then that success breeds more success, and that then brings influence. And so influence is capital in the United States. It's not being given a position, it's something that you've earned over time. And I respect the fact that you have given me a lot of your trust. I respect that a lot of you watch me and you want to know what's the Lord telling me. And I'm one of those prophets that probably is maybe too slow to tell you things, and I'm not very sensational. I guess some of you appreciate that. I don't spit and shout and wave my hand too much. Sometimes I can, but not too much. What does the Lord want to tell you? There's a blackout during my trip. It happens in the most military state. What does the 1% know? What does the 1% know? Well, they clearly are building bunkers. They clearly are. They have been doing it. And the top social media owners, like Mark Zuckerberg, has his bunker. 7 levels down is what I think it is in Hawaii. I don't think Hawaii is a great place for wartime. It's a great place to visit, great place to be. I always get positive influence from Hawaii when I'm there, but it's been attacked before. So I would say what the 1% know is what the 99% would refuse to believe, which is you're going to soon need a Goshen. You need a Goshen. It doesn't mean that God does not love America. It doesn't mean we don't have a covenant with God. It just means in the same way that Israel was judged and the temple was destroyed for 1,900 odd years, in the same way, this nation is not immune from God's warning and God's judgment. And parts of it will survive, and it may get broken up into something else. We don't even want to say that because our words have power, so we just want to love on this nation. But if you're in the 1%, you're going to need a Goshen. And the 99% will do nothing about it. And my Goshen has been selected because of certain things, and I drop clues. I'm the type of prophet that I speak and drop hints for you. I drop clues. I'm not very in your face, but I drop clues for you because I don't want anyone to hear it outright and misinterpret. You know, people misinterpret things and then they get into a panic. Do you think I look like a person in a panic? I'm not. I'm not in a panic, but I know clearly what the Lord has shown me and given me. The elites know, the elite pastors, the elite military, the elite in wealth, they know stuff. And they are what they are, not because they have position or stuff, but they have the stuff and the position because of who they are. You've got to change who you are in the end time. The great transfer of wealth is not coming to everybody. It's going to come to the 1% that has the mentality that I value relationships. God sends people to be blessings into your life. Your healing, your finances, your breakthrough will come when a person arrives in your life, and somebody is always looking at you who can greatly change your life. Somebody is always watching you who can greatly promote your life. That's a principle of, I think, the law of recognition. One book said, the law of recognition. You have to recognize, and 99% of people fail to recognize, literally 99% of people fail to recognize Jesus when he came. All their salvation, all their hopes, all their blessings, all their healing, all their wealth could have been found in one person named Jesus, and they could have lived next door to Jesus in Nazareth, lived and died, and never recognized that your best blessings in life will always come through a strategic relationship that God gives you. And Americans burn these relationships, burn them, because they've been hurt, they're emotional, they're guarding themselves. One characteristic about Americans that I'll tell you, because I travel a lot, is Americans, because of the emotionalism, are some of the most closed people, very guarded. Look very friendly because they hug you, slap you on the back. Everybody, treats you like a best friend because of that hug. But actually, the heart is very closed and very paranoid, very suspicious, and really full of fear, right? What do you want from me? A lot of Americans have that attitude. What do you want from me? And I go to other countries where people aren't like that. People are like, what can I give you? How can I honor you? It's just such a different flow of your energy. I am building a church and a community that Christians can be a part of, and I don't have too many, obviously. I mean, 70 homes is not that many. And it's not a lack of faith. It's not fleeing to somewhere else. I will always minister all over the world and go as far as I can. But if something bad happened, then you should have a Goshen. And you know what? The elites have it. We're driving by. These mountains are like, natural fortresses that have been built for the rich and the powerful of this nation. And there are places like that also in Missouri. I know in Missouri they have it, and they got huge freezers, and they got it here in the Cheyenne Mountains and I guess the Rocky Mountains. And if God's made me a sign, it looks like that there will be a much bigger blackout than just little rinky-dinky airline blackouts that are lasting few hours and causes great inconvenience. It's going to be much more than an inconvenience. So I hope you can understand the hints here and there without panicking. I hope you can hear that I love the country and I love America. But it can get judged, and parts of it will get judged very severely. And I believe parts of it will be safe. You're going to have to be led by the Spirit. But I believe if you're in the 1%, you should offshore some of your wealth and some of your family so that there's a plan B if something triggered, if something very drastic happens, and we are in that drastic time in the end time, then you say, you know what, oh, I've got a plan B. And if it doesn't happen, you say, oh, you know what, I'm supporting a Christian community, I can go on a mission trip at the drop of a hat, I'm ready for it. And I think God is glorified by that type of preparation, rather than buying more gold and silver, which what are you going to do with? They can change the laws and take it all away from you. You have something that, think more, how am I going to retain my usefulness for the gospel of Jesus Christ? Rather than thinking of some other way, think about how can I continue to serve God with a community of like-minded believers. Then I think you'll start making the right decisions, and you don't have to necessarily go the way I feel led to go. You may, but you may feel something else, but you'll be in a position with a clean heart and with the right perspective. God will bless you, prosper you, protect your health, and help you to continue to minister the gospel to as many people as possible, get as many people saved as possible until that day of the rapture.